On today's season preview, part 8.
We want to know which team takes the biggest step back this season.
Some award talk, who will win most improved player? Who's rocking the best new unis?
And who can turn it around faster, Melo and his Knicks or Kobe and his Lakers?
The starter 72 burning question starts now.
Good evening, Sweet World, and welcome to part 8 of the Starters NBA season preview. Whether you're listening to the podcast or you're watching us on NBA TV or YouTube, we're happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Taz Mellis.
You're the best.
To my right, Starters blog editor Trey Kirby.
Hey,
yo! And finally, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friends.
Lele.
Lily. All right, guys, we are getting oh so close to completing our 72 burning questions about the upcoming 2015-16
almost there.
season. Yes.
Oh, the board's looking nice.
We're hot on the trail.
Investigation board is really coming together. 56 questions and answers up on the board. That means 16 questions remain. And shout outs to everyone either on YouTube in the comments or people chiming in on Twitter, #TheStarters, with your answers to these questions. Lee actually reads every single one of them and documents it. He's so lonely. So it kills some time. So keep them coming. All right, let's get to question 57. Guys, which team takes the biggest step back this season?
I think we can all agree it's the Portland Trailblazers. When you have 4 veteran guys leave your starting lineup and 4 younger guys fill in the tough Western Conference, you're going to take a monstrous step back. Damian Lillard, the only holdover, Wesley Matthews, Nicola Batum, LaMarcus Aldridge, Robin Lopez, go bye-bye.
That looks crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy to lose 4 starters.
Especially considering the Blazers were like one of the teams that played their starters the most minutes together for the past 3 seasons, basically.
So joining Lillard, C.J. McCollum, Al-Farouq Aminu, Myers Leonard, and Mason Plumlee, according to us, this projected starting lineup. I kind of want to look at the bigs before we get to Damian Lillard because I'm kind of fascinated. I'm intrigued by this team. I think Terry Stotts is going to adapt to his players and get up and down with these guys because they're a bunch of young legs. Ed Davis, Noah Vonleh to go along with Plumlee and Leonard. They're going to get up and down, especially when you watch games in the Moda Center. It's going to be a fun viewing experience because the stadium is always loud. And if the preseason means anything, they are going to get up and down, and they are going to be good to watch. And these are all guys that you kind of like in other situations.
True. Yeah.
Mason Plumlee, Ed Davis. Can they do it now when they have a little bit more playing time?
So what are we looking at here when you say the big step back? 20 less wins, 25 less wins? Because this was a good basketball team, we forget, especially at the start of last year. I know they trailed off as the season went along. Still a 50-win team. What are you projecting here? 30 or so?
Yeah, I think 15 to 20 wins drop-off isn't out of the realm of possibility considering they lost 4 starters that had all been playing together and they're switching to a totally different style of basketball, it looks like. I do think it's possible that Damian Lillard leads the league in scoring just because he's probably going to have the greenest light in the league. He averaged 25 and a half shots per 48 minutes when LaMarcus Aldridge was out last year. He's just going to be in Westbrook mode, trying to score as many points as he possibly can for the Blazers. That'll be fun to watch, I think.
Yeah, Westbrook mode or Iverson mode,
Sure.
I guess.
He did struggle a little bit, though, against the Grizzlies, taking a few of those threes that were pretty deep. He needs to, I think, reel that in a little bit this year because they just can't afford that. But those bigs you mentioned...
I think they can afford that. Who else is going to be taking those shots?
Well, he can't be that far behind the line. He needs to be a little bit...
Yeah, okay.
He needs to get inside. He's not Steph Curry like that. But those bigs you mentioned, they're good, solid role players, but they're going to have to be kind of stars this year. And I wonder if they've got enough offensive movement. You know, Noah Vonleh, we haven't seen much of him last year in his rookie season. Ed Davis is another one. He's a good sort of rim protector and a defender, but offensively he doesn't have a lot to offer. So that's the problem for them. They don't really have any bigs who are capable of scoring, maybe getting them 20, 25 a night.
No, and that's why I think we can project them for about 25 wins. I think one thing with Damian Lillard we can expect, kind of like James Harden was ridiculed for his defense going into last year, Damian Lillard was ridiculed for his defense. It's time for him to step up on the defensive end to go along with that offense. And I think that's on his conscience that he has to play better defensively. And again, I don't see this team getting anywhere close to the playoffs, but I think they're going to be fun to watch because this man is fun to watch in all situations.
Well, he's the leader, so he has to do it on the defensive end. He has to show those younger guys it starts with him and he can't let guys get past him because he is going to have such an offensive load. It's going to be tough on him all night, every night to defend as well. But
I will say, Terry Stotts, their head coach, he does sort of always have his Blazers squad ready out of camp.
Yeah.
The Blazers regularly start the season pretty hot and then have cooled down as the season goes along. He's got this is going to be a heck of a job he's got to do here with all these young guys. But I wouldn't be surprised if they shock some teams early because people will be, you sort of look at the starting five and go, okay, Lillard, we'll take care of him, and then we can take care of we can pick up an easy win. I don't think it's going to be that simple. I think they're going to play hard.
Definitely.
You wonder a little bit, and I've heard people compare them to possibly way back in the, like 15 years ago with the Orlando Magic when Doc Rivers sort of had that young squad and they sort of shocked some teams. It's in the East, was a little different, but get like 40 wins. I don't think they'll win 40 wins, but I think they'll surprise people early on, and then as the season goes on and on, we'll start to sort of get the real Blazers of this year.
Especially going into Portland. Never easy.
Never easy.
Never easy.
Whether it's called the Moda, whether it's called the Rose Garden, it's still a tough place to play.
All three of you guys then, or sorry, I mean, all you and Lee, Trey and Lee agreeing with Tess, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, I am. I just think, again, because of the Western Conference, that's automatically going to knock them down another 10 or 15 games, and then they just don't quite have the depth, I don't think, as well. So, but they have to look at someone like the Houston Rockets, who a couple of years ago, they looked like they were going to be in for a bad trot, and then they get James Harden, they get Dwight Howard, and things can turn around quickly. So it might
Just
be
got to
rough...
get Harden, get into it out.
No, but it might be a
You make
rough
it sound so
season.
easy.
It might be a rough season here, but it's not like they're necessarily set now for the next 5 years
Yeah.
where they're going to be struggling. Things can change quickly.
I think Neil O'Shea was forward-looking as well by getting a guy like Mason Plumlee
Yeah.
at draft day. It was a smart move there.
I think a lot of people would agree with that pick. The Blazers sort of seem like an obvious selection here when you talk about the biggest step back. I'll take another team, though, just to make things interesting here. I'm going to go with the Dallas Mavericks. Because I do think the Blazers were looking at like a 20-win drop-off. I wouldn't be shocked if the Mavs are 10 or 15 wins less than they had last year. You see the turnover in terms of the squad last year from this year. All the big names on their way out. Rondo, maybe not the biggest name with his Maverick stint there, but Tyson Chandler, Monte Ellis, Aminu now on the Blazers, of course. Bringing in Wesley Matthews. I like some of these names that they're bringing in, and these are some solid vets here, but there's a lot of questions surrounding them. It really starts first off with Wesley Matthews. Like, what are you going to get from this guy recovering from a torn Achilles? Can he stay healthy?
So many injuries
Can he
on
get
this
back
team.
out there? Yeah, Darren Williams hasn't been the healthiest over the last couple years as well. Can he give you anything anymore? And then this sort of weird center, I don't know, Voltron of like Pachulia, D'Alembert, and JaVale McGee. Can they make up for what all Tyson Chandler did, especially defensively? That's a big question mark. Because I'm worried about Dirk. And I love Dirk, but I'm a little worried about him this year. I think they're going to reduce his minutes big time. And I think they have to because though he's still going to be able to score the basketball, he can get a shot off over everyone. He can hit a jumper and hit a three, still with the best of them. We saw it last year, what he was sort of giving back on the defensive
big
end.
time.
He really, not that he was ever like a defensive stud, but he was a capable defensive player. But I thought last year you really saw
He was a
step up.
target for the Rockets in the playoffs. They
Right.
just kept putting him into that pick and roll, trying to get him isolated with Josh Smith, and he just couldn't hang with Josh Smith, and that's kind of the player that's taking over the league right now, a faster four. You have to have a really good defensive center. That's probably not Zaza Pachulia. Maybe it's Samuel D'Alembert, but he's the kind of guy that sleeps in, and then your team is mad at him.
Well, I was going to say that was Dirk last year with Tyson Chandler
Right.
beside him. That's my big concern. And the other reason I have the Mavs sort of falling off, and it's an intriguing team, but there's an incentive to be bad because they made that Rondo deal with the Boston Celtics. There's a top 7 protected pick on the line. So if it's top 7, the Mavs keep it and they can start rebuilding for the future. If it's 8, 9, 10, and so on, that goes to the Celtics. So maybe if they start slowly, they don't bring back Wesley Matthews all that quick, whatever happens, they're like, maybe we sort of not tank, but we want to keep that pick.
There's just so many injuries. I think Rick Carlisle can do a lot of good things with the starting lineup. They had the best offense last year with Jameer, Monte Ellis, Chandler Parsons, Dirk, and Tyson Chandler. This is sort of an upgrade in some positions if they were healthy.
Right.
But they're
I
not.
got some pros.
It's going to be interesting because they still have a great coach, and Cuban has never had a losing season as the owner of the Mavs. So let's hear from you guys. We got to take a quick break, but coming up, it's my favorite NBA award. Most improved player predictions when we return. You're watching The Starters. Welcome back to The Starters. Continuing to answer 72 burning questions about the upcoming season. We are at question 58, gentlemen, and it is another award prediction. Guys, who will win the most improved player of the year, everyone's favorite award?
I'm going with Otto Porter of the Washington Wizards.
Okay.
He's going to win that award, and he's got a great name. If there was a name award, he could win it.
Good name.
Otto Porter. Actually, he may not win it because his numbers aren't really going to stand out all that much, but he's going to play a lot, and he's going to make a huge contribution. He'll take the other team's best offensive player on the wing, defend him very well. He can hit the 3 ball. He can rebound. He had 8 rebounds per game in the playoffs. And that's why they're comfortable letting Paul Pierce go, because Otto Porter is going to come in there, and he's going to sort of be part of this new Wizard style. John Wall is going to get up and down. It's time to let John Wall go, and Otto Porter can run along with him while Paul Pierce really couldn't. Porter can be that 3-and-D type guy, defend really well. Numbers aren't going to be great, but he played 33 minutes per game in the playoffs for a reason. and he didn't do that. He didn't play much in the regular season. It's his time to play a lot, and I don't think the numbers are going to be great, so he may not win this fantastic award. But he's going to make a huge, huge contribution on the floor.
Yeah, the
Okay.
small ball fits him really well because there's just so much more space out there, and he does a pretty good job of maybe making an open shot, but he's really good at attacking closeouts when people come at him. Just more space out there is going to somewhere where he's going to thrive, and I think that's why he had such a better playoffs compared to the regular season, because they were just a lot more free in the playoffs.
I'll admit, I forget that he was a number 3 pick
Yeah.
in the 2013 draft. I think, you just think in the teens somewhere, sort of lost in the mix. But this guy was a high pick coming out of Georgetown.
I like the Randy Whitman move of going a little bit smaller. Nene's going to the bench. They're going to get up and down. This is John Wall's team,
Yeah.
and Porter fits in.
Okay, what about you? MIP, who you got?
I'm looking at Rudy Gobert this year. I don't necessarily think he's going to be a whole lot better than he was last year because he was really good, but he still only played 26 minutes a game last year because before the Enes Kanter trade, he was playing 21 minutes a game. Once Kanter was gone, that went up to 34.5, which is crazy to think that Rudy Gobert last year played less total minutes than Tim Duncan. But basically, I think he's going to be playing over 30 minutes a game this year. You look at his splits last year. When he played 30 minutes or more, he averaged a double-double. He's going to have a ton of opportunity this year. He's going to get better from being such a young guy and growing and just being a better player. So the combination of development and opportunity, that seems like an MIP to me.
And if I remember correctly, some of us had him as our defensive player of the year. So we're saying Gobert's going to win an award.
Yeah, he's taking home a trophy.
Either defensive player of the year or most improved.
He's definitely man crush of the year. Everybody's going to love this.
Yeah, it's a fun watch. All right, Lee, who are you going with?
Well, the one positive to come out of this Portland Trailblazers rough off-season is the opportunity it presents for CJ McCollum. I think really this guy is in for it because they need someone else who can score, and he's the only other guy who you can really look to think he can score for the Blazers. And this actually, in the preseason, he's averaging 17 points, 5 assists, and shooting 40% from 2 and 3. So he's shown he's got a little bit of range there. But his upswing really started in the playoffs last year, particularly the last 3 games against the Memphis Grizzlies. They only won one of those games, but that's pretty much what he's averaging for those 3 games there. 17 points again on 45% shooting, which is pretty good. But the only thing is, he's in Portland. I don't know if they've got enough wins, so even though he might get a big bump in numbers, I'm not sure if it'll stand out as
I'm
much.
glad you said that. Look, we sort of make fun of this award a lot because there seems to be somewhat of a simplistic formula to some extent.
Yeah.
You usually got to go from a reserve to a starter role, or at least get starter minutes. That's part one of it. You also just got to bump up your scoring.
Yep.
Usually a big part of it is because you're just getting more minutes. So
Yeah.
you got to score 4 or 5 more points per game than you did the year before. And then it helps, you said the last one, if your team's sort of in, usually at least, sort of in playoff contention.
Yeah.
It helps if you have the wins. Which is why those sort of all 3 things, I'm going with Reggie Jackson with the Detroit Pistons to win this. I think it makes sense because we saw him go from OKC to Detroit last year. And when he played, he was putting up some numbers. I mean, we're talking nearly 18 points per game, nearly 10 assists per game, nearly 5 boards per game. Those are all-star-like numbers in the East. I think you're going to see similar numbers from him this season throughout the whole year. Stan Van Gundy, he's added a little more floor spacing as well. In Ilyasova and sort of Marcus Morris, you got Stanley Johnson there. They should be in playoff contention. I know there's always a tough team to figure out. I just think it'll be as simple as you're going to be like, well, look at his numbers last year, because you would be taking into account all those numbers with OKC when he wasn't getting huge minutes. And then look at them this year with the Pistons, and people will go, give it to him.
He's got a big chip on his shoulder too. He wants to show people that he is a
That's
starting point
fair.
guard in this league. So, he's going to come out ready to go.
These are a lot of good picks we all just made.
I'm sure there's more. Most improved player. Let's hear from you guys. Hashtag the starters. All right, question 59, a fun one. What's your favorite new uniform? There's a lot of new kits.
There are.
What are you going with?
There are. I'm pandering to my hometown, the Toronto Raptors.
Yes.
I mean, these are beauties.
I'm with you.
When I saw the ones at Summer League, the simplistic look, they were kind of like these ones. I was excited, and these are beautiful. You could see Drake dancing in a video in one of these jerseys, no doubt. I like them. They're simple. I like every part about them. I'm not a big fan of the gold. Okay,
like the
I'll
gold?
take that back. No, maybe at OVO Fest, sure.
Flashy.
But
I'm with you. This is my pick as well. Maybe we're homers.
yeah, but they're nice.
They are nice.
They are cool.
I like the font.
They're simple.
It's a nice
They're
font.
simple. So some people will be like, they're too boring. And I can understand that, but they're clean. They're clean. And
Certainly clean.
Simple is nice.
what are you going with?
Clean is in because I'm a big time fan of the Bucks new uniform.
These
I
are
kind of
great.
feel like the Milwaukee Bucks are the coolest they've ever been in my lifetime. I was a fan when we saw these online when they were just debuting the uniforms, but since they've been on court, the gradients look incredible. The black one I'm not a huge fan of because I don't love the deer on it, but the white and the green, I can't decide which one's better. That's a clean look. Another great font. If you're kind of aiming at that sort of vintagey but new looking thing, the way the Raptors are, the way the Jazz Jazz did in the past, the way the Bucks are now. That's the way to go.
All right, so you're going with the Bucks. I think a lot of people would agree with that pick. I know we liked it at the time. Lee, TJ Maxx didn't design any uniforms this year, so where are you going?
Well, they might have designed this one, actually. It's the Indiana Pacers. They're rocking a very unique uniform. It's the Hickory High
All right.
colours here from the Hoosiers movie. It's actually...
Hoosiers?
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers.
You know what I mean. I really just wanted to show you
Whose
these
ears are you trying
uniforms.
to fool with that pronunciation?
The best part about these is George Hill's hair actually matches the uniform. So I just wanted to take a squeeze at his hair. It's a great new look.
You like those?
I do. I think they're pretty nice. They're going to wear them at a few select games this year to honour the 1954 team.
How do you say the movie
That goes
again?
by the name of.
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers.
All right, what about, I'm surprised no one picking the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh, they're beautiful.
With a very unique look. I mean, this sort of screams Trey Kirby to me.
Oh, yeah, I'm really in on these. I think they look great. I like the black and the red. Personally, the white ones are a little super bright, but I think people seeing them on human bodies is a lot better than just kind of looking at images and seeing, wow, these are going to look crazy. Because in person and on TV, they actually just look flashy and they look new and modern to me.
And it looks cool with their new court
Oh,
there,
yeah,
too.
the court's
paint.
Matches the key. It's very nice.
I do like them more now seeing them on the
Definitely.
guys and on TV than I did sort of just the images. And can we all agree, I'm just going to throw this out there, the worst new uniform? It's the Clippers, right?
No.
It has to be.
I don't mind. I honestly
Really?
don't mind it. I don't see what's so bad about it.
I don't
That
like that.
is horrible.
I don't
That
like
is
that.
horrible. That
Like,
logo.
it's
That one is-
different. It's creative. It's not the best uniform I've ever seen, but it's not the worst. That looks fine.
It does look almost basically like their old uniforms, just with that crazy new logo.
Another new font.
I
Sponsor
keep
in.
thinking it's a joke.
Sponsor it.
I keep thinking it's a joke that they're pulling on.
You think they're gonna have something
it looks
fresh
like
for
they
opening
whipped
night?
it together in like 2 minutes, and they're like, "Here you go," and they're
Maybe
like,
they
"All right,
did.
we'll go with it." All right,
Microsoft clip art.
maybe I'm wrong.
I
Maybe
mean,
I'm
who's
wrong.
yours knows?
Let me know. All right, up next, which franchise will turn it around faster, the Knicks or the Lakers? I'll jump on the hot seat to answer that.
Back with the starter Skeets in the hot seat to answer 5 questions as we creep closer to the end of our 9-part, 72-question preview. Skeets, we ready?
I'm ready, man. Bring it.
Here we go. Question number 60. Talking teams. Who is the most underrated team going into the season?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm actually going to go with the Houston Rockets, which I know is a little surprising, but I'm a little shocked by how few people are putting them into the conversation of sort of title contenders. They had Dwight Howard for 41 games last year. They were missing Patrick Beverley for, good 30% of the season.
right.
James Harden was asked to do way too much, and he did it. Nearly won MVP, but now they got Ty Lawson beside him to help with the playmaking, the ball handling. I think the Rockets are going to win a ton of regular season games, and I think they should be included in sort of the discussion of title contenders. I don't think they are as much, so that's why they're underrated to me.
I think they should be included
fair.
as well. All right, number 61. Triple doubles. Who's going to have the most of them this season?
Is the easiest question of our 72.
Rajon Rondo.
No, it's Russell Westbrook. Easily.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's already got one in the preseason.
Yeah.
Preseason. You
say
put one
count
up
it.
the other night. I mean, he had 11 last year. I think it was something like LeBron, Harden, and Rondo combined didn't even have as many as Westbrook. So
You think even with Durant coming back, he'll still...
I would say even more. I mean, it's not like he's not going to score 10 points plus.
exactly.
Points is not the
He'll hit the
problem.
glass. He'll get more assists because he's got Durant there. He can just pass it off easily. Westbrook.
Okay, let's talk about 2 large markets that have been struggling recently.
Yep.
Who's going to turn around faster? The Lakers or the Knicks?
Wow. Okay, it sort of depends what you mean by turnaround. If it means get back in the playoffs the quickest, I'll lean towards the Knicks only because they're in the East.
Right.
And only because Tass said they're going to make the playoffs this year. But if turnaround means sort of respectability to get to being a title contender or at least back in the conversation, I'll go Lakers just because they have 2 young pieces in Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell. You know, I also like the fact that Kobe's got 1 year left. I mean, who knows if he sticks around for a little bit more, but only 1 year left on that massive deal. Melo's still got a whole lot of money wrapped up there with him and the Knicks. I think Lakers long term.
All right, that's a good answer. I respect that. Question number 64 of 72. We got a few of these crazy promotional nights
Yep.
every year that the teams put on. What is going to be the craziest night we see this season?
I think it's going to be something called like crowd-sourced coaching. And I could see the Sacramento Kings
Yeah.
doing it because
Yeah.
their owner, Vivek Ranadive, he's a bit of a mad genius. He wants to play 4 and 5 basketball, he said at one point. So the idea is pretty simple. We all go into the arena. You know, you go to a Kings game, let's say, everyone's given, you know, a tablet, an iPad, whatever it is, and we
free
get to watch the game, but as a group, as a collective, crowdsource, we get to pick the plays, make the subs.
Oh, make the subs.
Yeah, we
like
get to
it.
do everything. So it's like sort of, it's basically playing NBA 2K16.
Yeah.
For real.
For real,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Okay, great stuff. All right, this is question number 64. I was getting ahead of myself.
Okay.
A personal question for you, Skeets. Would you rather run with no music, because you're a runner?
Right?
Would you rather do that or run with music but get chafed nipples?
Every time you run.
Every year.
Can I run with podcasts or nothing?
Oh.
I gotta run.
Nothing.
No, no.
I'll
no.
run.
No noise or
Yeah.
noise.
I will run with no music, podcast, anything. Chafed nipples suck. Suck.
Prove it.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
This shirt was white. This shirt was white, but I went for a run before we started the show. No, yeah, I'll run without music.
All right, great stuff. One more break. After it, Facebook poll results. You'll tell us who will be the most improved player on the season. Come back. You're watching The Starters.
Back with the starters, and the fans have spoken over on our Facebook page. We asked you guys who will win the most improved player. 3 of our picks here at the table in the top 4. CJ McCollum, Lee, your pick
Smart fans.
getting the most votes. And Rudy Gobert there, that was Trey's, and then Otto Porter. Tass is coming in 4th. Victor Oladipo. We didn't have him, though. I think earlier in our 72 burning questions, I did pick him as sort of a breakout star.
Yeah.
So we're all on the board.
So it makes sense.
I just wonder if he has already maybe improved so much last season, if he can go out and improve again to win it this year.
Well, you'll
but-
see when the Magic make the playoffs this year. People are going to be talking about Victor Oladipo's huge jump forward. Maybe he could be most improved.
And the idea being you sort of go from good to an all-star level, like you saw with Jimmy Butler there. Winning that. I think that's the idea. All right, so we are getting oh so close to finishing our 72 burning questions. Just one show and 8 questions remain. That is tomorrow, when we will tackle our biggest wishes for the upcoming NBA season. We'll get into the most overrated players and teams. That's going to get us in trouble. And we'll have a very special edition of the Hot Seat. So that's tomorrow night, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on NBA TV. Tomorrow morning, we are going to release our hour-long podcast, The Drop. We'll get a little deeper, dive a little deeper into our 72 burning questions, talk a few over and unders with team totals, and we'll run through the staples. Worst of the week, tweet of the week, pun gun, all that fun. Check that out on iTunes and Google Play.
The drop is back.
That's right.
It's back, baby. All right, thanks for joining us. And remember, business cards are not obsolete.
Brace the day, people.